Coming up, a trio of number one teams fall victim to the late season upset. We'll look at that and the rest of this week's top headlines.
Alexys Swedlund is a key component for one of the top girls basketball programs in South Dakota. We'll introduce you to the St. Thomas More standout, who will soon be taking her talent to the Pac-12.
With the regular season all but wrapped up, find out which players have a chance to make the biggest impact on the postseason.
All that plus Jay and I make our picks for this week's best games. Varsity Sports starts right now.
And hello and welcome to Varsity Sports. Alongside Jason Andera, I am Jay Elson. Well, we've got lots to get to here over the next 30 minutes, but we start with a look at this week's high school hoops headlines. And the lead story is North Dakota number ones go south. The 4 wins Midco and Minot boys sat atop their respective rankings coming into their Saturday night games, Jason, but both left with a loss.
Well, in 4 wins case, they had a loss already this season, but they definitely were the top team. Came into play against Dickinson Trinity, a team that's played well against some good teams, but haven't gotten a big signature win. Well, they got that signature win on Saturday when they turned it up in the fourth quarter and took down the Indians. And then on the other side in Class A, we had an undefeated team. Minot was rolling all season long, had one test earlier this year against Century, eked it out at the end of the game, and then on Saturday night, Century returned the favor, got a win on their home gym, which evens things up in Class A.
In South Dakota, we had a 1-2 blowout as the O'Gorman girls may have played their best game of the year on Saturday when they dominated second-ranked Lincoln 82-56 on the Pats' home floor. Patriots got close in the second quarter, but that's when the sharpshooting Knights put it out of reach. Kate Cartwright and Rachel Townsend combined for 9 threes to help blow it open. Needless to say, head coach Kent Colesrud was pretty pleased with his team's performance.
Just really proud of our team. I thought they came over focused, and it was a great team effort. Okay, we've had so many wins down the stretch here that multiple people are making big plays, and that's when we're at our best. We're a really versatile basketball team, and I'm just really proud of them.
Oh, but it didn't take long for Colesrud's tune to change. Tuesday night in Sioux Falls brought more questions than answers for some of the top-rated teams.
Yeah, things got a little bit interesting in girls basketball in AA, where first of all, Roosevelt played against Lincoln, and Lincoln lost their 3rd game in the row, was number 2 coming into last week, and now with those 3 losses, kind of seemed like things are going a little bit off the tracks, but give some credit to Roosevelt. Tagan Larson put up 30 points in that victory, and then across town, the Knights were looking for a perfect season. They were 19-0 coming into the game against Washington, and they left the game with their first loss. Washington had a shot right at the baseline with just 5.1 seconds left to take a lead by 1 point. O'Gorman could not convert, and they get their first loss. But sometimes getting a loss late in the season isn't all bad.
Yeah, people come in on two sides of that. Maybe it's not bad because it takes off some of the pressure. At the same time, do you ever want to go into the most important part of the season off a loss? So
tough schedule, though.
But yeah, obviously, the O'Gorman a very good team regardless. Well, the straight-shooting Watertown Arrows cooled down Aberdeen Central on Saturday. Watertown bounced back from Friday's loss to Pierre in a big way, beating the Golden Eagles 63-56. Nate Davis was stuck in foul trouble for much of the night, but still managed to put together a big second half for the Arrows, who won for the 5th time in 7 games.
Well, we're going into tournament play. We got one more regular season game. You just want to be playing good basketball. And I think there's some teams that are searching and other teams playing good basketball going into tournament play. That's all you can ask for. Kids are doing a good job and proud of them. Probably playing our best basketball here, and we just got to keep it rolling.
Watertown has proven they can beat some good teams. They've had some falls this year. That's why their record is not a huge winning record, but definitely a team to watch here in the next couple weeks.
All right, stay tuned. We are going to take an early look at this year's playoff picture in a bit, but coming up next, we get to know St. Thomas More star and Washington State-bound Alexys Swedlund.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by AE Tech Electrical Training Center in Rapid City. Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields.
And welcome back. Well, Alexys Swedlund has redefined winning in her time at St. Thomas More in Rapid City. She and her teammates are strong favorites to get their 3rd title in the last 4 years. Jason has more on this future Washington State Cougar.
Thanks, Jay. Alexys Swedlund loves basketball, and she's pretty good at it, too. She joined her first traveling team in 3rd grade and got promoted to play with the 4th graders. Ever since then, she's been playing above her level, including this season, where she and her Cavalier teammates have outscored their opponents by an average of 37 points per game. Well, here's more from that soft-spoken senior with the hard-hitting jumper. Alexys Swedlund has one of the sweetest strokes around. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of instruction that started way back with her dad.
He helped me to be the player I am today through teaching me how to shoot, all the way knowing how to dribble.
She's widely considered one of the state's top sharpshooters, but to be great, she has to work on all aspects of her game.
When I was younger, I was more of a point guard, and so I was a lot of the ball handler. So I transitioned to more of a shooter, and so now I'm more of a shooter and a little bit of ball handling. But now I'm really focusing on my defense and definitely going back to my ball handling because I lost a little bit of that.
Around her freshman year, the seed was planted that she might have what it takes to play college hoops. She cultivated that dream over the next year.
So I started working harder in the off season and during the season, of course, but it started paying off, and I started seeing improvement in my game. And I was told by many sources that I could play at the next level, and so to believe that I could, from those people that telling me that I could play at the next level, was really satisfying. And I kept on working hard until I finally got that chance to play at the next level.
Between her sophomore and junior seasons, Alexys played on her traveling AAU team. It was then she started collecting some big-time offers from big-time schools, but it was Washington State that was the winner.
I picked WSU because I know that I'll grow as a woman there, and I'll also grow as a basketball player. And I think that all around it's a family atmosphere, and I don't think I'll miss a beat going from St. Thomas More to Washington State.
But before she heads to the Pac-12, she has some unfinished business in high school. Swedlund's face lights up when she talks about the upcoming playoffs.
Oh, this is the best part of the season. The competition increases, and the intensity increases, and the excitement does, and it's coming down to the nitty-gritty, and this is when it gets really fun.
St. Thomas More, led by Swedlund, made a historic run to a title last season, beating teams by an average of 36 points in the state tournament. This year, Swedlund thinks another title run might even be more special.
I think this year's team is so special because I played with them for how long? I played with them since I was in 8th grade here. And to be able to complete this goal and get the state championship this year with this team, specifically, would be just awesome because it's been our dream ever since we were little, and to do it all together again would just be great.
All right, let's take a look now at Alexys' stats from her senior season. Over 25 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, but 3 steals per game. I mean, really, all these numbers pop off the page when you look at it.
And it's all these one-on-one athletes that we've profiled. They do have very good games all across the board. The stat sheets are stuffed. But with Alexys Swedlund, it really comes down to her shooting. She is really known for that three-point shot that she can bury. She averages 15.6 points per game over her career that started in 8th grade at St. Thomas More. Just an electric shooter, and that's one of the things that June Doherty, her future coach at Washington State, likes about her, and she's ready to get her in the lineup very soon.
Yeah, next year with her arrival on campus, we're really excited because she's expected to replace the scoring of Tia Presley, who's the second leading scorer in the Pac-12, and all. But she has the opportunity in front of her to come in and play a lot as a freshman, and boy, she's got a lot of talent and ability. So we can't wait to get her in a Cougar uniform. She loves the game. She's in the gym. She's performed at an unbelievable level in her state her entire high school career. This kid's a sharp shooter. She hasn't met a three-point shot she doesn't love. I mean, I love that about her. She's very aggressive, takes great shots, and she's a young lady who obviously puts a lot of time in the gym, so we're really looking forward to her joining the Cougar basketball family.
Well, those are some pretty impressive comments from her future coach, and she's got some big shoes to fill, but if anybody can do it, I think Alexys Swedlund can.
Yeah, it's pretty clear they're excited to get her out there at Washington
Almost
State.
giddy,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be excited to see how her career unfolds in college. Well, good stuff, Jason. We'll find out which teams Jason has pegged as the favorites and the dark horses heading into tournament play. That's next.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by AE Tech Electrical Training Center in Rapid City. Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports. Let's reset the playoff picture in the different classes that we cover now. We're going to do both states, but let's start in North Dakota with Boys A. Regions Jason coming up March 5th through the 7th state tournament, March 12th through the 14th. Let's talk favorites now. First and foremost, Minot is your favorite. Obviously, that's going to be a tough decision to make, though, with how even they are with Century.
Obviously, these two teams have played 2 games. Both have come down to really the last couple minutes of the game. But I still think Minot will be disappointed if they're not the ones holding the trophy at the end of the night on March 14th. I think that they have the most talent in this class, and they've put really the most quality wins on the board.
And the Magi's hopes certainly going to rest very heavily with the play of Dakota Helvers.
Yeah, these impact players I'm talking about are the ones that are really going to hinge. Their success will hinge on their play. I think Dakota Halverson with his 17 points per game and his ability to distribute the ball and his ability on defense make him the impact player to watch.
What makes West Fargo your surprise team in Class A?
I think West Fargo has really ramped up their game as the season has gone on. They've got so many athletes that they can bring off the bench, and I think in that case, if you've got one guy who's hot, it's going to be easier to beat with a team that has 4 or 5 guys that are hot. Melvin Collins playing out of his mind right now.
Let's look at Class B now. The favorite, despite their recent loss, 4 wins, Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think they've got the most talent, the most athleticism up and down the court. Trayvon McKay has really elevated his game. I think he's the player that really makes that team go. Rugby obviously has the pedigree, got to the finals last year, but I think 4 wins has to come in as a favorite.
Guy who had the biggest postseason out of everybody last year is your impact player. It's Carter Cretchford from Oak Grove, and certainly this guy capable of filling it up.
Yeah, and that's because he's got that experience of really being the impact player last year, hitting over 40% from three-pointer again this year. He's not even the leading scorer on his team with Christian Adams, but I still think he is the player that's going to make this team go.
Fresh off that win over 4 wins, Milwaukee, Dickinson Trinity earns your distinction as the surprise team.
Yeah, 7 losses on the year, but talk about heading in the right direction at the right time. The Titans have got it together, and they've got confidence.
All right, let's switch it over to girls now. Class A, the favorite, the undefeated team, Shanley.
You got to go with Shanley. That team has really beaten teams time and time again. Every test that they've had, they've passed with flying colors. They did it with a young team last year. This year, a little more veteran.
Sarah Jacobson, of course, leading the way for the Deacons, and she is going to be a big part of their hopes for another run.
Yeah, she did it last year. Again, we talk about a player who did it last year as a young player. This year, 20 points per game and 6 assists per game. Players like that you cannot shut down.
Shanley wraps up the regular season against Fargo Davies, and that is your surprise team.
I think so, and you don't really trace it by their schedule, but I've got a feeling that team has got everything together, much like the boys did last year at this point in the season.
He's got a feeling, folks. The North Dakota Class B girls now. This is maybe the least surprising favorite.
Least surprising, they've rolled through 2, but it's hard. It's hard when you're expected to win sometimes. Bishop Bryan, though, obviously the favorite. The impact players this time, we got to look at Gabby Bull and Hannah Stewart. Gabby Bull leads the team in scoring, folks. 23 points per game, over 60% from the field. And the surprise team to watch out, Shiloh Christian, is putting things together at the right time. Jay Two Bears, I think, is back from her injury almost fully. They made a run all the way to the title last year. They could do that again this year.
Well, the stage is set now in North Dakota, and coming up next, we're going to do the same thing in South Dakota. Stay with us.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by AE Tech Electrical Training Center in Rapid City. Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields.
And welcome back. Well, Jason, let's take a look now at the postseason picture here in South Dakota, starting with boys AA. The favorite coming in, Sioux Falls, Washington. They really separated themselves from the pack a bit.
They have really a team to watch for all season long. When they beat Lincoln not only once but twice, they put the rest of the state on notice, and I think they can do it because they got the 3 big guys down low. It's going to be so hard to stop all 3 of those guys at once.
Yeah, undefeated against South Dakota competition to this point is Sioux Falls, Washington. The impact player, though, comes from Lincoln, Addison Park.
I think he's the guy that might be able to really carry his team. When he plays well, he can shoot from the outside, and he can also beat those guys on the inside. He's going to have to do both if they want to get to a state title.
Is there a surprise team? You picked Roosevelt, but
is there a surprise team? That's a question. I looked at Aberdeen. I looked at maybe a Watertown or a Pierre. They didn't really come through at the end of the season like I thought they would. Roosevelt, by the way they challenged Sioux Falls, Washington last Thursday night, I think they're a team that could really beat some good teams coming down the stretch.
In boys A, you've got Aberdeen Roncalli as your favorite.
Yeah, I think they're the favorites. They had the one loss to O'Gorman, which skews their record a little bit, but they beat Del Rapids when it came time to win. I think that's a team that really has the senior power to do it.
Tyson Jenkins from Clark-Willow Lake. Talk about him.
He is the impact player. Last year, he actually averaged more points per game. This year, only about 15, but he's got some help down low, and he's seeing double teams. He's able to feed the big guys down low. He's going to make an impact.
Madison as a surprise team. We're not used to saying that about them.
It doesn't even sound right, does it? But 4 losses on the year. They're going to have a tough time just to get to state with that tough region that they've got with Del Rapids and Sioux Falls Christian. But if there's a surprise team, maybe it's Madison.
The boys B, Wolsey Wessington.
Yeah.
They've had a great run this year.
Yeah, a lot of people underrated Wolsey Wessington, but that's a team that really has crushed the competition. Now, people say, have they had the competition? I think they've had some good games. They're really going to get that test here in the next 3 weeks, though.
Langford's going to challenge them. They're going to need Bo Freeze.
I think Bo Freeze is the best all-around player. This is a team that came into the year with basically one returning starter off of a team that was perennially in the state tournament, and it's because of Bo Freeze. He can guard a 5'11 point guard. He can guard a 6'9 post player, one of the best in the state.
Elkton Lake Benton down as your surprise.
Yeah, I think that's a team that has a few losses early, but is coming at the right time. Heath Schindler, an outstanding player.
Moving over to AA girls now, and Sioux Falls O'Gorman. Yes, one loss to close the regular season, but far and away, this has been the best team in AA girls.
Yeah, these other teams in the top 5 have all shown their weakness from time to time. O'Gorman, for the most part, if they're not in foul trouble, get it done.
Jessica Maris, of course, leads the way for them. Surprise teams, maybe Sioux Falls Roosevelt. They've played well down the stretch.
Yeah,
of the regular
Roosevelt
season.
is really ramping up their game. Tag and Larson coming back after that injury. Watch out for the Riders. They can make some noise.
Class A, we've talked already about this in this show about Alexys Swedlund and St. Thomas More, and they're right here on this list again.
We pretty much know when you look at girls A, you're looking at St. Thomas More, a team that's probably not going to lose. Alexys Swedlund, who's going to hit 20 points every single game from here on out. And the surprise team to watch is a team in a really tough region. Mount Vernon Plankinton, they might have trouble just getting out of their region, but that's a team that can make some noise.
Ethan has been the #1 team in Class B all year, and you said earlier, a couple weeks back, you didn't see them losing.
No, and they've done it with defense. Darby Gustafson's had a tremendous year, but watch out for Chloe Lamb. They've only lost 1 game, and that was to Ethan. That's a tournament-tested team that's going to be good. And the surprise team to watch, Castlewood, with that big upset just a week ago against Sioux Valley.
All right, it's going to be a fun playoffs in March for both North Dakota and South Dakota.
Lot to look forward to.
And there's going to be tons to talk about on this show here over the next few weeks, so look forward to that. Well, after their big win over Minot, will the Century boys be able to avoid the letdown against their intra-city rivals? Jason and I will give you our thoughts on that and the rest of this week's top matchups when we come back.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by AE Tech Electrical Training Center in Rapid City. Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields.
And welcome back. Well, we wrap things up tonight again with another round of high school hoops pick'em, where it's all about the winners. No upsets this week. And don't call it a comeback. I've closed the gap a bit here, folks.
Yeah, last week was interesting.
Yeah, Jason does still lead on the strength of his 2 correct upset picks from earlier this season.
Both records pretty impressive, though.
Yeah, I got to say, we are pretty good at this.
Okay,
so
let's keep it going.
All right, let's go.
Pat on the back.
4 games, 2 each from North Dakota and South Dakota. Starting boys A in North Dakota. Century, of course, coming off that big win over Minot. Now let's take on their arch rival Bismarck.
You get into a rivalry game and you come off of a win like that, you got to be careful as a high school team that you pinch yourself a little bit. You know, just because you have 1 loss in North Dakota, beat the #1 team, Bismarck's tough, but I do think there's a little gap between Century and Minot and then the rest of the WDA. I think Century will figure it out in the second half, but it'll be closer than people think.
Yeah, I don't think you can write a more appropriate classic letdown scenarios here. I mean, you're coming off a game where you invested so much emotionally.
But do you have the guts to pick it?
Yeah, I do not have the guts to pick it. No, I'm going Century. They beat Bismarck by 14 the first time around. I agree with you. I think there's a gap even between them, even though Bismarck's only got 4 losses. Coming in, I think there's a pretty clear division between the top 2 and everybody else. In girls A basketball, Shanley still perfect on the year. Travels, makes a short trip to Davis.
Yeah, and I think last game of the season, you get some crazy games sometimes. You get into that Davies home gym. You get Lexi Claybo maybe hitting a few shots. That's one thing that I think Shanley might not have an answer for. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. Ooh. I think on the last day of the year, I think Shanley will take their first loss, much like O'Gorman did in South Dakota on their last regular season game.
Make me earn the comeback, Jason. Make me earn it.
This will be earned on my account.
I don't think so.
Because that's a huge upset.
Shanley is going to win this game. They're 19-0. They've been rolling everybody. The Deacons have been challenged. And by challenged, Jason, I mean won by less than 10 exactly 3 times this season. Davies was not one of the teams to manage that. They lost 86-42 the first time around. Shanley all the way, I think, in this one.
Support me, Eagle fans.
South Dakota, West River now, Class AA, Rapid City Stevens at Sturgis.
Stevens, one of those teams that can play with the best teams in the state. They can lose to the worst teams in the state. You don't know what you're going to get on a consistent basis when you have that sophomore point guard, but Sam McLeod is so good. He's going to have a big game, even though they're on the road against Sturgis, a team that's really put a nice string together with Kellen Barden. But I think Sam McLeod and company, the Raiders, come in and sweep, get a nice win at the end of the season.
I disagree again. I think the Scoopers are one of the hotter teams in Class AA hoops right now. They've won 8 straight. They're 8-1 at home. Stevens did take the first matchup, but it was a 2-point decision. And the Raiders, since that big win over Lincoln, you talked about how they have the talent, the ability to beat some of the top teams in the state. We saw it a couple of weeks ago when they beat Lincoln in Sioux Falls, of all places. Since then, 2 straight losses. Give me Sturgis in this game. All right, South Dakota girls now. A district game coming up on Monday, Roosevelt at Brookings.
Yeah, 2 teams that have just come off of nice wins against Lincoln, but I think Roosevelt is in the right direction right now. I think they've turned it on. They've got the young backcourt playing much better, and they're getting Tagan Larson into positions where she is really hard to stop at this point. And I don't think Brookings quite has an answer for Tagan Larson. Even though they're on the road, I think Roosevelt gets this win.
I agree. The Riders played really well toward the end of the season. Went through some rough stuff early. Had some injuries, new coach, things like that playing into it. But I think the Riders are where they want to be at this point in the season. They won the first one by 16 points. Give me the Riders all day.